You know how to keep showing up. You know how to get all the things done. You know how to perform even when you don't feel good. You know how to keep smiling even while you're struggling. And the world rewards that. People praise you for being so dependable, strong, capable, resilient. But what no one is telling you is that eventually your body gets tired of carrying that role. And for so many women, midlife is when the bill comes due. Welcome back to the Whole She Rises podcast. I'm Mandy Scovern, and this is episode 2 in our special series for midlife women who feel like they're doing all the right things, but still don't feel like themselves. Today, we're talking about something I hear from women constantly, and honestly, something I lived through myself for years. If you've been feeling exhausted lately, not just tired, not just needing another cup of coffee, but deeply exhausted, like you wake up tired, you push through the day tired, and by the end of the day, you feel like you have absolutely nothing left to give. This episode is for you, because I think so many women are walking around carrying a level of exhaustion that they've started believing is normal. And maybe you've even found yourself wondering, am I just getting older? Is this just what perimenopause feels like? Do I maybe need different supplements? Do I just need more motivation? But what if your exhaustion isn't actually any of these? What if it's something much deeper? Today, I want to talk about why so many women feel exhausted in midlife and why the answer might not be what you've been told. I think one of the hardest parts about midlife exhaustion is that it doesn't always make sense, because sometimes you're doing all the right things. You're trying to eat well, you're taking the supplements, you're trying to get enough sleep, you're walking, you're drinking water. Maybe you've even started hormone therapy. And yet somehow you still feel really depleted. That was certainly true for me. There were seasons where I kept thinking, if I can just find the right protocol, if I can just find the right doctor, and if they would do the right test, if I can just find the missing piece to connect all of this, then maybe I'll finally feel like myself again. But I found that the more I chased answers, the more confused I was becoming. Because sometimes the labs did start to look better. Sometimes the treatments should have been working, and yet I still felt so exhausted. Now, before I go any further, let me say this. Please hear me. Hormones absolutely matter. Nutrition matters. Sleep so matters. Medical support really matters. I'm never suggesting that those things don't matter. But I think sometimes we make the mistake of believing that midlife exhaustion is maybe only hormonal. And for many women, it's not only that at all. Because by the time we reach our 40s or 50s, many of us have been carrying stress for decades. Not just busy schedules, not just work, but emotional stress, mental load, caretaking, so much people-pleasing, perfectionism, constant responsibility, always being the one who needs to remember everything, always being the one to schedule everyone's appointments, keep track of everyone's calendar, always being the one who holds everything and everyone together. And eventually, the body really does start keeping score. I think so many women listening will relate to this. For years, I was incredibly good at pushing through. I'm sure you are too. You know how to keep showing up. You know how to get all the things done. You know how to perform even when you don't feel good. You know how to keep smiling even while you're struggling. And the world rewards that. People praise you for being so dependable, strong, capable, resilient. But what no one is telling you is that eventually your body gets tired of carrying that role. And for so many women, midlife is when the bill comes due, not because you've done something wrong. And not just because your hormones have started going wild, but because your body can only compensate for so long. And then, yes, hormones going wild on top of that can be so overwhelming. This is where things can get confusing, because women will say, but Mandy, I rested. I slept in. I took a weekend off. I went on vacation. And yet they still feel so exhausted. And honestly, I understand that completely, because there were seasons where I could rest physically and still feel so very tired. And that's because not all exhaustion comes from doing too much. Some exhaustion comes from carrying too much. And there's a big difference. You can stop working for a weekend, but if you're still carrying worry, pressure, hypervigilance, responsibility, and emotional overload, your system never truly gets a chance to recover. One of the biggest realizations I eventually had was that my body wasn't just simply tired. It was stuck. My system had become so accustomed to stress that it no longer knew how to fully settle. And I see this with so many women. They're functioning, they're productive, they're still getting all the things done. But underneath it all, their bodies are running as if there's an emergency happening, even when there isn't. And that creates a level of exhaustion that sleep and rest alone cannot fix, because the body isn't lacking rest necessarily. It's lacking safety. And I know that word can sound a little strange, but what I mean is this. The body needs moments where it feels genuinely safe enough to stop bracing, stop preparing all of the time, stop controlling, stop just surviving. And if you're listening to this and thinking, that's me, I want you to hear something. You're not lazy. You are not weak. You are not failing at healing. You are not broken. And this is not your fault. Your exhaustion may actually make perfect sense, because when a woman has spent years carrying everyone else, holding everything together, and ignoring her own needs, and pushing through symptoms, eventually the body starts asking for something different. Not for force, not for more discipline, not for more pressure, something so different. This shift for me started when I stopped asking, how do I fix my body and start making it perform better again? And when I started asking, what is my body trying to tell me? That question changed everything for me. Really, it did. Because it moved me out of fighting my body and into listening to it. And honestly, that became the beginning of a completely different healing journey. One that looked very different than I expected, but so much more meaningful, so much more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. In fact, I think next week's episode is going to be one of the most personal episodes I've ever shared on this podcast. I'm going to take you behind the scenes of my own healing journey, the years of supplements, the protocols, the frustration, the autoimmune disease that changed my life and all of the symptoms that followed, the things that helped, the things that didn't, and the things I wish I had have understood much sooner. Because if you're exhausted or confused by your symptoms and wondering why nothing seems to be really working, like you need to find the missing piece, I think parts of my story are going to feel very familiar. And if this episode resonated with you, please make sure you're subscribed and give this video a like so that YouTube will share it with more women who need to hear this message. And if you're following this series, I recommend watching the other episodes because each one kind of builds on the last. And this one explores why midlife women feel like their body has fallen apart. These conversations start painting a much bigger picture of what's really happening beneath the symptoms. Take a breath, trust your body, and let's rise together. I'll see you here next week.